that you're here. And this is Leslie's public page, just as a reminder. So we'll keep reminding people about that as well.
Absolutely. And sometimes I cheat. I go to my phone to see if we're live.
Oh, because then we can have multiple streams
look
of
and see.
notifications,
Well,
right?
It looks like we're live. I see us on.
Oh, look there's a stranger here in the comments named Janice. We say that with love because we've all come to Janice is so faithful. So thank you, Janice, for letting us know that we're live. Hi, Lorene. Nice to
Good morning. It's afternoon here in Ohio, but maybe morning where you are, Lorene.
Yes, that's right.
Vancouver.
Yay, Canadian. Woohoo.
I wonder what that's like to be up there, Jen, one of these days.
I know. Come. Anyone's welcome to come and visit me. I love it. I love my country. I love sharing it with people. So we're so glad that you're all here and joining in with us as we talk today specifically about I want to change, but I don't know how, and what are the best first steps. So we're going to dive into that in a minute while we're just kind of getting people to say hi and let us know where you're from. I see everybody out there.
I don't know what it's like where you ladies are at, but where I'm at in Ohio, it's just a little bit rainy today.
Yep. And Diana sends me her weather because I'm about a 10-hour drive away from her. And so whatever she's getting, I either already have it or it's coming. And I already have the dreary sort of weather. But it's spring and I love it. So, so we're here to talk today about wanting to change. And I think, Diana, this is near and dear to my heart because, first of all, let me just give a shout out to Leslie. Maybe drop in the comments if you were able to attend her generously free webinar last Thursday, either at noon or at 7:30. Just drop it in the chat if you were there, because she actually talked about how to recognize when my husband's changing, but we're here to talk about us changing. And that's near and dear to a coach's heart because that's all we have control over is ourselves. Right.
Right. Look at somebody saying in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm changing the subject, Jen.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're getting snow this week too in Ohio. It was a cheater. We had almost summer here last week and now we're going to get a cheater.
No.
Okay.
No snow.
So we see a lot. Katie saying she was at the live webinar. Sweets, that's sweet. Sweets by Leslie. She was there, and that was a good webinar. And I always, those are intense. She gives away a lot of information, a lot of help. So hopefully you came away with some really strong tools, and also some words that might help you to understand what you're experiencing. Because often I think what we find, Jen, is sometimes women walk alone in this. And we're so glad to be able to provide a community here for you so that you're not alone. And I know well-intentioned people helpers also don't really speak to the same dynamics that we do. And it is a specialty area and one in which we are all strongly familiar with. And so we're equipped and here to help you with your questions. So wondering if you have some questions about change, about first steps to change. And I don't know about you, Jen, but what's the first thing you do when you consider creating some change in your life? Or maybe we can ask our listeners as well. What's the first thing you do?
That's a really good question because I don't think we ever stop to really ask ourselves that. I think we just launch into it, right? And then we bumble our way and we're sometimes successful and sometimes not. But for me, it's about setting intentions. So I might start with what I want to be different. So that's the change.
How do you notice what you want to be different?
I think that's a good question too. Oh my gosh, it's Monday, Diana.
I'm sorry, we're ladies. I'm going to coach Jen here back and forth. But seriously, how do you know you need to change? What is your first wake up?
No, this is really good. And she knows I didn't get much sleep last night. So I'm just wrapping great. No, this is excellent. So you can see how this works. So for me, it's when so spiritually, when I'm sort of not proud of myself, like pride in a good way.
That's a good one.
Okay. Yeah. Like there's an unsettling in my spirit. So something needs to be different. It could be a physical manifestation. So stiffness in my body. It's like, oh, I haven't played pickleball for the past week, so I signed up for 4 times this week, right? Because I missed it last week. So I can feel it in my body when it hasn't been stretching and I haven't been treating my body as well as I would normally like. Or I can tell, not drinking enough water. I was starting to get headaches on the weekend when we were working so hard at the cottage. You don't stop to think to drink like I do when I'm here at my desk and I'm chugging my water all day. And then I guess emotionally too is emotions can be fleeting, and we do talk about our emotional well-being here a lot on our lives, but emotionally and mental well-being, if something's lingering for a while, I need to stop and take note of what might need to be different. So it's really that noticing part. What's going on in me?
Yeah.
That
So
really
what do you
change.
think, can you guys answer in the chat? How do you know it's time for change in your life? What are you noticing when you're kind of starting to learn to pay attention?
Yeah. What about you, Diana? What comes up for you?
Stress.
Oh, yeah, that's a
I
good one.
feel it. I get stressed, I get anxious, and usually for me, especially, nowadays, right around tax season, um, it was brought to my awareness that things need to change. I'm looking at all my habits, as you track all your expenses and all of that for taxes. And, along with that, all of the stress of pulling it together at the last minute again isn't working for me. So the call to, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do this anymore. This
Yeah.
is creating suffering and pain for me, whatever it is. I'm just using the example I had recently and how stressful it was. Because I don't know about you, you're a little bit younger than I am. But after you get to a certain age, we're literally not as resilient to stress. It does take a toll on us. So it calls to me much more loudly than it did when I was in my 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excuse me, got a frog in my throat, overwhelmed and frustrated, anxiousness, irritable, stressed when life goes wrong, even when life rushes me, continual feeling thoughts of uneasiness. Yeah. Excuse me. That's a good word, unease, because that's what the check in my spirit I was talking about, that lack of settle. What else? When I wake up stuck in one emotion a few days in a row. Oh yeah, that
That's a
negative.
good one.
That is a good one. Anxiety. I don't like the way I'm feeling, anxious. I cry more, get triggered easily. Triggered into what exactly? Sweets by Leslie. That's a good one. I mean, I know we use that word a lot, but triggered into what? We get something sets us off. There's a stimulus. That's the trigger.
Right.
Into what? Thinking about the situation, anxiety. Yeah, those are all the cues, the flags, the something needs to change because it's not working for us. In the famous words of Dr. Phil, how's that working for you? and when it's not, and I always mix up this quote, but it's when the pain of staying the same becomes greater of the pain of change is when we make the change. So when we finally get sick and tired of everything staying the same and butting up our heads against that ceiling or whatever, and that's becoming more and more painful, then and we've been told all along, here's the change, here's some solutions, here's some ideas, and we just go, no, I'll keep doing this until we can't do it anymore. The bumps on our heads are too sore, and then we finally have to open ourselves up to some of those changes in our lives, right? So
here's another one: too much thinking in the middle of the night.
Yeah. These are, I think everyone can relate.
So
And thank you for commenting. Oh, by the way, I know we mentioned this at the beginning, but we've had so many people join us since that this is Leslie's public page. So if you have private comments or rather questions that you'd like to ask us, Amanda, who's helping us, can put that link into the chat, or you can ask them here. But just to be mindful of whatever you're putting into these comments can be seen. So if you have something to say and you want to do it anonymously or whatever, you can go through the question tracker that we have the link for. There it is. Thank you very much, Amanda. And also, otherwise, just ask for a friend or post in general that so we don't know what we can't necessarily tag it right to you, but yeah, so we start to notice things, right? Our environment, our body, our thoughts, our spirit. our health, something starts to really give us
Yeah.
some messages that something's not right, something needs to change, then what?
Well, I guess the question is, what we're talking about, Jen, is identifying that I'm in pain and I'm suffering. And so then the question is, how do we narrow it down to what really needs to change? What do we need to look at? You know what I mean? What is the greatest? And for me, there's two different types of knowing that I want to change. And one is getting better, at something. And, how do I want to grow? And I think it's all about growth. But I think of it maybe sometimes as a new skill, like pickleball. Like I want to go play more. That to me is fun, right? But when I think about pain and suffering, certainly as we do in our line of work, relational, right? So then how do I identify where the change needs to occur and what needs to change, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I did a little bit of research. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and thank you for that, because I think as we break it down for all of you today, and we want your input too on how you take the next steps, what your next steps are.
Mhm.
But I'm already sensing, Diana, that we need to, it can be at our own pace, but to break it down into steps. And while we do that, have some grace for
Yeah.
ourselves. Because I think anyone who's listening, just even considering a change is huge. You might not have done a thing yet, not a thing. And just really coming to terms with that truth in your life that something needs to change, either externally or internally, that truth is really rising up that you want to walk in. That's huge. And so we understand that this is at your own pace and that we have to do things to then start to investigate then what needs to happen.
The awareness that there's some truth. I can face the truth. Something needs to change in my life. But guess what? You don't have to do it alone, right?
Yeah.
And walking. Well, I think the first thing is, when I see something that needs to be changed, do I step back into denial or those things that distract me from really what it is that's causing me pain and suffering, where the change needs to occur, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, Jen, I don't know about you, but sometimes we're so busy and distracted with life, we don't take the time to value our own process, our own internal healing, our own well-being. We have just been so busy really functioning in other ways. And so I think, I took stock of myself last month. We talked a little bit about this. I had some things come up physically and I was like, oh, something needs to change here.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote myself a prescription. It included diet, it included exercise, and it included pulling back on the things that I was doing too much of.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my way of saying I matter to me, and I need to set the intention, to move forward and demonstrate that in how I live my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And that you could recognize how important you are. I mean, because God's shining down on you and he's shining down on all of us. And he wants us to do that. It's not selfish. It's not, and sometimes change, it may feel pushed by someone else that they're demanding we be different or we act differently. And maybe that's true. Maybe there is something that, we talk oftentimes in our coaching groups about blind spots or things we want to become more aware of. So that's fine if it's coming from a safe and trusted person. But we're also talking about the courage to step into the things that we know we need for our own sake. So having that intention, that choice to carve out a little bit of time for self-care, some reflection. Where do I need to change? Where do I need to grow? And so I asked myself two questions, kind of on either end of the spectrum, that you all might want to consider. This is what works for me. So when I'm embarking on a change of any kind, because it's been forced on me, or I'm just wanting to grow or do something new, I ask myself first, what problem am I trying to solve?
Mm-hmm.
And I also ask myself, what feeling will I experience when I accomplish this?
Can I write those down?
Yeah.
I like that. What problem am I trying to solve and how will I feel differently? What was that?
What will I feel differently, or what will I feel? What feeling will I experience when I've accomplished whatever it is I'm setting out to do?
So can we ask our ladies on screen, what problem are you trying to solve?
Yeah.
Where's the change needed? And what was the second one again? I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
third
So
time.
what feeling am I or do I want to experience when I've accomplished whatever it is I'm setting out to do, the change,
Freedom, joy, peace, all of those.
right? But
Absolutely.
let me just explain those a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one comes from my project management 101 that I used to have to do for the government for my nursing. And it's because so many times, this is why I'm saying it's okay, ladies, gentlemen that are out there, we can slow down, do this at your own pace, ask for the Holy Spirit's guidance, ask for wise others, collect people, do what you need to do. But the idea is that sometimes we just rush into it. We see that, oh, I've got to go on this diet. I've got to lose 5 pounds or whatever. It's like, well, what problem am I really trying to solve here? Well, it's because my back aches. Well, maybe weight's part of it, but maybe it's something else. Like, go back to the root of the issue. So don't just dive in head first into a change without maybe doing that sort of reflection that Coach Diana was talking about. I love that introspection, planning it out, assessing, looking at the lay of the land, really to really go, what problem am I trying? This looks really fun, and that looks like a great change, but what's really going on here? And is that the most effective way to do it? So I'm not saying do away with it. It's just make sure that if you only have so much of yourself to go around, like we all do, that if you can come up with the root of the problem, maybe there are other options. And then similarly, when we flip to the what feeling do I want to experience when I've accomplished this, that's your real goal. That's the change you really want to make, is sustained peace, joy, love, faithfulness, all of the fruits of the Spirit, of course.
Like that.
And let me tell you, then this is where the hope comes in, because we may be thinking that there's only one way to get those experiences, but there's not. There's a million ways, right? We may think that in order to have peace, I have to stay in this relationship, or in order to have peace, I must divorce. But you know what? All we want is for you to have peace. So let's explore. You can't see my arms. I'm doing this. There's so many options then when we look at it that way, in terms of what are we trying, what feeling are we trying to achieve? Then the changes we need to make are more of a means to an end.
Okay, so let me summarize what you just said.
Yeah.
We asked the question, what problem am I trying to solve? The end goal is, how would I like to feel when I accomplish this? But what we really want to do is put on the fine glasses, or the microscope, or the magnifying glass, I guess,
yeah,
and really ask, so I want to, I don't know, lose weight, but what's the real root of the issue? And so I'm asking myself some deeper questions about what's getting in the way as well, right?
Yes. See, this is what I'm talking about.
So let's talk about change in this context. And I see some of you defining what you'd like: change in your heart to be at peace and joy, mental clarity. And we know that you're here for a reason, and there are many of you out there. So if you wouldn't just give us an idea of what kind of change you're wanting to occur. Codependency to joy in loving me when alone. Mm-hmm. And so, I just think about that, Jen, and I think about the truth of the matter is change, we've said this a lot, begins with me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, especially when we use the term codependency, we know that part of that problem is I'm so focused on everything outside of me and in relationship to that. But what would it be like to be in relationship with you, along with the Holy Spirit, and dig a little bit deeper into all of those stages where you might need change to occur? And of course, we're talking relational, mostly. Loneliness to a feeling of belonging.
Oh,
I love that.
Me too. Me too.
And Paula says, I'm so mentally exhausted to do anything anymore. So you ladies are speaking the language. I'm tired of working on my marriage, tired of taking care of my parents, all of that. So that mental fatigue of not resourcing within and just giving. We talk about this a lot, in the Bible. I love Moses. Moses is my guy. And I do, because he's so bold. I mean, I love when he said to God, and I remember, I love when he said he wanted to see God. to experience God, and God honored that, met him in the bush. You know what I mean? But anyways, the story with Moses is that he tried to do it all. He was called to a large task, and then God met him there and equipped him with other people to help him to see that he wasn't meant to do it all. And neither are you meant to do it all, or really to carry all the burden. If there's a burden that you're carrying that's not meant for you to carry, and sometimes we get so confused because we've been living in this context for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see someone say mental clarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and again, and we have confusion about what stewardship and selfishness is. We get that confused, right? And I think God was very aware that Moses wouldn't be able to lead to the capacity that he was if he continued to do all of those jobs himself. And so for me, that gives me permission to just come into the realization that I'm finite and I'm limited, and I need to listen to my body and my brain and my heart about what's really going on. You talked about stages of change, Jen.
Oh, yes, it's like shuffling a deck, right? There's sort of, you got the deck in your hand and then you're shuffling. Has anyone ever gone through a change and it just feels like it's just, you don't know, it's a crapshoot, as they say, right? It's just like, so you're shuffling the deck, and then you get to the point where now it's getting a little more direction because the cards are coming out. And then the next phase would be you actually get to see your hand, right? You can see either where this is going or the fruits of your labor, because depending on what change you're going for, some of these are lifelong journeys, right? Which are beautiful, but it's change. I know for me personally is as good as a rest, as they say. I love change. I'm a change agent. That was actually one of my previous roles when I did still work for the government. But I also recognize that it can be absolutely crippling for some people. Change is very painful. Just the thought of it, change in their environment, change in relationships, change within themselves is very, very scary. So that's why I was saying earlier, it's amazing if you can just even consider a change, let alone making the next steps. So Kristen's saying, I can be a horrible steward of me. You can't pour from an empty cup. Amen. You can't. And so to Diana's point, I think it's really, once you notice that something needs to be different, it's then pausing to take care of ourselves long enough to start, assessing the situation and figuring out what the problem is, what feeling I want to have, what steps do I need to take to get from A to B. And that's it. It's like we have to hit the pause button, and we can only do that by kind of tuning out the world. So someone mentioned earlier, one of their expressions of a time for change is when they start to feel overwhelmed. Yeah. And that's like our window of tolerance being slammed shut, right? Because to overwhelm to me, because I might have a million things going on in my world, and Diana could have the exact same things, but she's carrying on like there's nothing wrong and like no cares in the world. And I'm like, oh, just about to lose my mind. It's because of whatever's going on in me. So we want to widen that and be able to be able to tolerate that more. But sometimes that isn't always possible. So when we're talking about overwhelm, it's because it's feeling like it's our perception of what's coming down on us, whereas someone else could be having a completely different experience. So the idea is, it doesn't mean I'm not minimizing or taking away when we feel overwhelmed. It's a great cue that something needs to change. But I also want to tell you that means there's hope, because if Diana and I are under the exact same conditions and she's all happy-go-lucky and I'm not, then it tells me that there's hope. I can be like Diana, right? So we're here to give hope as much as anything else when we know that change is very, very scary.
Well, change can be scary, but we're here because it's necessary, right? And I see someone's comment in the chat about trying to fix everything versus doing my own work. And that's why we're here. And I think, once you acknowledge that change needs to occur and that you're overwhelmed, I love the work that we do because we equip, but it's also preventative. And I want to encourage you to not wait to do the work until your body tells you you're not functioning at all. Because I can't tell you how many times I hear from individuals the physical manifestations and healthcare concerns from not taking care of you. And sometimes taking care of you and doing the work is figuring out what is happening to me.
Yeah.
And then what are my next steps? That's really why we're here today, because we want to provide you with an opportunity to join with a bunch of other godly women. And let me tell you, I've been a believer, geez, I'm not even going to do the math right now, but since I was 19. And I know that when you walk in Christian circles, that you all have had experiences where you may have looked around and not gotten the input that you maybe needed to grow, or accurate biblical input, or someone coming alongside of you that you could walk with in safety and trust. But that's why our Conquer group is here. And we still have what, a week for
Friday.
you. Friday, we're having our welcome 3-hour marathon welcome Facebook Live, and Leslie is hosting that, which is going to be a lot of fun, and there'll be giveaways and things like that. But the main reason to join isn't just for Friday, but for a sense of being around a bunch of godly women. And in whatever capacity I'm working with our ladies, whether it's our group coaching, individual, or even interacting on Facebook, there's so much biblical wisdom. And our ladies just have hearts for Jesus. It's amazing. And so, speaking about change, you want to be in a community of people that you want to grow with, that are like-minded, that are on the same path, that are pursuing godly knowledge, wisdom, and application of all of that. And also understand, how am I being shaped by what's happening to me in my life? And so we have some wonderful opportunities for you in Conquer, which is a support and membership site. And as Jen kept saying, steps to change, and we have it operationalized so that you don't have to.
We do.
You could just dive in and you get live help. And I'm going to hold this up while you maybe explain, Jen.
Oh yeah, I know. I was just going to say mine's back in here too.
A pretty color one. I'm sorry, lady.
I know. It's a great resource to have. Here we go. Here's mine.
Do you have a color one?
I don't know if mine's colored, but here it is. Oh my God. And we don't do this to say that it's daunting. We do this to say, because this is how loved you are. This is the power of the resources that Leslie provides for us through the Conquer journey. And it's because there's a workbook that you get, which is what I've printed there, and Diana has. There's I think we do 6 weeks of in a row.
We have 6 steps helping you dive into your change. It starts with awakening. And that's, maybe where you're a little bit scared and confused and you don't know how to begin. And that's where we come alongside you, and you'll meet with a coach to help you with all of that material. And then you step into my favorite one is clarity, where I'm starting now to understand and recognize what's been happening to me, and now have words for it. And so I think that along these steps, we talk about mental clarity. When you're overwhelmed, you don't have mental clarity. And so we're just putting the pieces together to help you get a sense of calmness of heart and calmness of mind, right? And that's where we step into stability now. Now that I have some clarity and I know what's happening to me, how do I become more stable? How do I develop those muscles for growing in the manner that I long to grow in, along with, Christ's image? And then what do we have left, Jen? Oh, I skipped one, ladies. I'm sorry. We don't want to forget safety.
I was going to say safety and stabilization. Yeah. They go hand in hand. They really do. But your safety here is paramount for us, because we know there's a variety of situations that we encounter. Physical is definitely up there, but we also understand and care for many of you that are going through emotional, verbal types of things, where I call those things the bruises we can't see. Neglect. Right.
Yeah.
So that's all about your safety and getting stable with resources outside of who might be the unsafe or unstable person that you've been attached to. So we recognize how challenging this is. And this is just such a safe way to be within a community of, initially when you walk through these steps, you're with with anyone that's just recently joined, but then you'll be put into the fold of all the thousands of women that have gone before you and are still walking this journey. All godly women. It is open to women only, vetted very safely, very carefully by Leslie's administrative team. So we take safety when we're talking about that. We take it quite seriously, your confidentiality. So any of those resources that we share are through a very private members only portal. The calls and the Zoom meetings that we have specifically for those that join Conquer are just that. They're encrypted through Zoom. It's none of this Facebook stuff. So again, very, very private in protecting your safety in terms of confidentiality. So, excuse me. I don't know.
So we have, ladies, I want to just mention the last two steps.
Yeah.
So the last two steps are strength and confidence, and that's where we kind of want you to be. So first of all, identifying what do I want to change, right? And then second one is seeking the support of wise and godly others. You know, I was reading my Bible the other day, and I have to tell you, I might get a little emotional when I say this, but I have this favorite Bible. Anyways, it's a Life Principles Bible, and he has little things in there, and he was talking about godly counsel because I was reading through Proverbs, and one of the little excerpts he had in there is a lot of times we seek counsel, you know what I mean? But he said, you know, examine the life of those people that you're trying to seek counsel from. And it just made me so grateful for the teaching that we have. I just want to say to you ladies that the videos are scripted with biblical application as well. And so it's really powerful when you have been in destructive and abusive relationships to have someone speak to you through scripture, because it's been twisted a lot, and I'm sure it can be very confusing. So that is a gift. And I would have to say that Leslie is very gifted at applying those biblical truths, and we as coaches do as well. And we have it. So I showed that to show you the manageable steps. We don't just like set you loose with all these hundreds of videos and handouts to grow through, but we get you started, right? And you're not alone. And so you develop your small cohesive group, and then you graduate to the larger group, and you're a part of that support community. And the biggest piece is practicing it, right? And so when I told you I wrote myself a prescription, I have it written down and I come and look at it. I've been good, Jen. I've been doing it for 2 weeks now, and I can successfully tell you that the diet's going well and my body is responding to exercise now. So, you know, it doesn't take much, but it does take intention and a step forward.
I love that. And can I give you some personal feedback, because you already mentioned it, but I want to sing your praises. Okay. So I walked alongside tax season with Diana last year.
Oh, really? I don't even remember that.
I do. And you were very stressed about it. Very stressed. And this year, because you've been texting us and saying, okay, I got my taxes done, ladies. You're on it because you learned from something and you made an intention about, and I'm hearing also still from what you shared today about your taxes, still an opportunity to grow and not still leave certain things.
I've already started. I'm logging stuff regularly.
Right. I'm just as guilty, even in Canada here. Our deadlines are quite similar. My husband's been on me for days now. This morning, he told me I have until Wednesday. Okay. But because we both have our own businesses and then we file together as a married couple and personal, but this isn't about taxes. This is about me wanting to reflect back to Diana as a sister in Christ, as a friend, as a colleague who I love dearly. I celebrate you, Diana, because it's something like taxes. I watched you. I've known you long enough now to have watched you go through that very trying and difficult time this time last year. And to overcome that, make some changes, whatever they were, that I didn't witness necessarily, but I was along that journey to hear you now a year later, and you were celebrating you when you texted us to say, I got them done.
I actually didn't think about that, Jen, but I did. I had a more relaxed approach this year. My mind was clearer because I wasn't freaking out. So I mean, it doesn't take much, but we're here to help you with those baby steps. And I want to reach out to our support team. I want to let you ladies know that this is Leslie's public Facebook page. So anyone can post in the comments. That's why we tell you to be careful. Our tech team will remove any inappropriate comments that come. So you may have some men on here listening and watching the feed. They are not, we just want you to know that it is a safe place for women only. In any of the additional groups that we have, your Conquer Facebook site, your Zoom meetings, they are, the security is intact.
Mhm.
And we validate and verify anyone who has access to any of those things. So
Mhm.
we just want you to know that.
Yes, that safety is paramount here. That's
But
for sure.
when we're doing live feeds, we're out there publicly. So I think today we're on YouTube as well. And so the feed, anyone can comment on those feeds, just to let you know. So I hope that helps you to feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and while we're public, I mean, we love our men, we love our godly men, we love the men that want to change, and so we welcome them to these lives that are, as they're listening in, to maybe understand and gain empathy for what might be happening in their own relationship, or maybe to hear tips about
Right.
how they need to show up differently. So we do welcome that here. But rest assured, please. And that's why sometimes, for those, maybe some of you in Conquer already can attest to the fact that it might take 2 or 3 days as we get a huge influx of new people for the team to go through, because they don't just add anybody to the private
Oh,
Facebook
yeah.
group. Like, they go through and they
Yeah,
double check that
everything.
everything matches up, your ID, your everything. And so it's not just a quick hit of a button. So it
Absolutely.
sometimes takes a couple of days after you join to become a part of the full experience for that very reason. And so we actually welcome that. That it's kind of like reminds me of going through the airport. People that used to complain about all the delays and stuff. And I'm like, are you kidding me? If it keeps like some terrorist from staying off my plane, I'll take my shoes off. I'll stand in line. Thank you very much. So anyway, Amy, your heart is with us. I want you to be safe. And yes, safety and stabilization couldn't happen in order for you to then feel, with that vulnerability you want here in this group. That's what Amy had, I think, mentioned earlier. She couldn't be vulnerable if there was a man in Conquer. And that's exactly the point. We want to create, to the best of our ability,
We have our own club.
Yeah, a safe environment, a loving, and God never promised the truth would be easy. We speak the truth in love. We are very mindful of not telling others what to do. We can share from our own experiences, but you'll find such sisterly based approach to this, in the sense that we'll quote scripture all the time and not ever weaponize it, because it's been used as a weapon on us, and we know, so we won't do that to each other. And it's just such an amazing experience. I come from a background of a lot of running and having been a part of many support groups, and not one as robust and as based in the Bible as this.
Okay, so I'm going to read some words, ladies. Forgive me for reading, but these are Leslie's words. Conquer is an amazing educational and support group for Christian women who are in destructive marriage. In Conquer, you're going to feel seen, heard, and valued. Perhaps for the first time, experience an overwhelming sense that you're not alone in this journey. And you're going to learn how to get safe, gain greater sanctity, and grow strong, all within your Christian values. You'll learn to discover your own voice, make good choices, build your God-given identity, and find your courage, all while you get the support you need to do this work. Instead of feeling crazy and what does Leslie put words together, Will?
I know.
Instead of feeling crazy and frustrated, trying over and over again to get your husband to do his work, we don't know if he'll change, but we do know you can. And we've witnessed it. I'm telling you, I've walked so many women through this process, and the joy on the other side after the growth has occurred is amazing. We want to see you steward yourself well, your mind, your heart, your body, your soul, your dreams, your desires. And I do believe that that is God's will for your life.
Oh, amen. That's well worded. That's just the greatest testimony right there for the women that have walked alongside of us this journey. I mean, I'm always sad to see some ladies go. I don't know about you, Diana, but there's just such a warmth in my heart when women on our Facebook group will say, okay, ladies, thank you. It's been, 2-3 years, sometimes even longer. And they're just like, I am in such a good place. I will forever love you. Thank you for everything that you've given me. And you just know that they're as close to wholeness again as they could be, and they're off. It's just amazing
Well,
to watch.
and with that though, there's reasons to stay.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking. This is
a conference. We have meetups. We have local meetups. In fact, Leslie's coming to Ohio, and for those of you that are in the Northeast Ohio area, we're going to try to do a meetup. I do want to tell you, for those of you that are on the feed that are having trouble with tech, there's one simple, and Amanda could put that in the chat for us. There's one solution to that. It's email assistant@leslievernick.com, and a tech person will respond to you and help you with that. Should we take some questions, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few
questions. Amanda will put it in the chat as well to let you know. But your questions can come through because if you don't want to post them here, you can send them directly to us. We each have live feed in front of us, and it's Leslie Vernick. Wait, wrong one. leslievernick.com/question/. And what else? Okay. Do you have your live? Do you want to read the first one?
I just wanted to address a couple of things I see here. So Sweet Crowder says, how many women are together in the groups? This Conquer is a large-scale support and educational group. So you start off in a smaller Facebook group of all the newer members, which could be hundreds, if not thousands already, I think. And then we merge that with the already established group, which is 5,000 and more, I think.
That process. I think it's a 6-week process. Is that
it? Yeah, it takes time before they do that, but it's a large community. So we don't, this is a group coaching where we break you down into smaller groups. This is on Zoom with however many people decide to show up that day or that night. And the Facebook community is where you would get that asynchronous support, I guess you could call it.
Yes. And you will get 2 calls per month, one in the day and one in the evening, with either Leslie or a coach. And that's where you can call in and ask questions. You have a private feed that you can interact with all the Conquer members on Facebook. Initially, for those that are new to Conquer, you will have the steps you will go through each week, where you will have questions and answers by a coach on the steps to Conquer. And then you'll be transitioned into the larger community. So it's kind of nice to start out with the small group of women, which might not be a small group. We usually have quite a few join at once. I don't have those numbers, though. That would be our admin team that would have that. But yes, it is finally open. We only open it twice a year, and it's only open until April 21st. It's very reasonably priced. And I've heard Leslie say that if finances are a big issue for you and you really, really want the support and help, reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think we had another question that I don't see here, but if I sort of paraphrase is, I've heard people talk about this before anyway, Diana, when you mentioned finances, is that there is a monthly subscription fee, or you can do an annual. And it's such a blessing, I know, to those that have chosen to go that route and to join. But I also understand that there are maybe the actual money itself isn't the problem, but maybe just talking to your husband and seeing it on the credit card statement or things like that. So you can address those, how it comes up on your credit card statement with our background team, and making sure that you're safe that way. And I also know then Leslie's talked about women that have sold items in their home each month to pay just the monthly membership fee every month. I think it's $37 US. And so, they find a way, women that really want to see this change that we're talking about today, that we're going to take ownership of, as Diana outlined some of the steps, we go all the way from awareness to safety to stabilization through strength and confidence. If you want that in your life as the result of some sort of difficult, disappointing, or destructive relationship, Conquer is the group for you.
And I want to say, it doesn't have to be just a marriage, and you don't have to still be in your marriage. Often what happens is, if we've left the relationship, or if we are no longer in in close connection with that destructive relationship, we still have work to do. And so
Absolutely.
that's what we're here about is doing that work. So yes, it would be appropriate for you, regardless of wherever you are.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, so let's get to some of these questions then that we
Let's
have
do
here.
it.
Let's see. All right. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. I've been separated from my husband, but living in the same house for years. Yesterday, he said that I haven't kissed him, held hands, hugged him, or said I loved you for years. And it's true. I didn't have those feelings or desire for him. But yesterday I thought, well, I will hug him just because I feel I needed the affection as well and understood where he was coming from. Then we kissed and there was more physical contact, but no sex. Afterward, I felt bad, like I broke the promise I had made to myself. It was like kissing a stranger. I felt my spirit didn't like it. To be honest, I wanted the physical touch, which is very strange because I haven't desired that for a long time. I thought that part of me was dead. I feel like I did something bad and I don't understand why, with a question mark.
Yeah.
Can you repeat what you just said? It blanked out for me, Diana. What did you just say?
I got company, so I was asking somebody to shut my door.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, that's why I was like, okay. No, so I was just wondering, when we think about that check in the spirit, I think that is the Holy Spirit talking to us. And if there's something with your intuition that's going on with you and it didn't feel right, there's a couple of things. Maybe it's just because it's new again and it's a little scary. It could very well be the fear of maybe the vulnerability of letting him back in. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that could be on here, but the point is, listen to that. Please don't beat yourself up over it. When you say you feel like you did something bad, maybe just step back and do some reflecting and journal about it and pray to the Lord about what it is that you're experiencing as a result of this encounter. But what would you add to that, Diana?
I would be very curious. I do like the idea of journaling. I think that it is true that we all long for. My love language is physical affection, so I get it. Like it's hard to live without physical touch. I remember when I was single and not dating for a long time throughout my 20s, going home and just hugging my dad. Oh my gosh, that was so nice. And you don't realize how long it's been since you've had physical touch. And so I would just ask yourself the question, what was going on that I felt like he was a stranger? There's a lack of intimacy there, maybe a lack of safety. You know what I mean? Maybe a lack of trust. So those are some of the three key things. Like safety, trust, and the uncomfortableness. So there's some deeper questions to ask yourself. What is this about? And we all need affection, but we do want to get it in ways that are appropriate, safe, right? And where our body kind of welcomes it in a comfortable way. So there's some flags going off there for you. Not sure what all that means, but some good questions that you're asking. And I love what Coach Jen said. It doesn't help you to be curious and figure it out if you're beating yourself up. So you feel bad, but maybe that feeling about bad can lead you to, why did it not feel good? Rather than I'm bad. Right?
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Another question here says, I want to learn healthy responses so I can interrupt unhealthy patterns with my relationship. I want to be strong enough to weather necessary confrontation. How do I start doing this? Just by saying that. Yay.
I think, well, yeah, I want to, but I was setting the intention that I want to be different. I want to grow strength. I want to learn how to confront. And I can tell you, we have tons of videos on that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to join Conquer. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel here and try to figure that out all on your own. I mean, that's what we focus on, right? Yeah. And someone's asking how many weeks you'll be in the small group. It's there are six steps, so six weeks. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you just saw me bubble up because I just love when we can set those intentions and that desire, like I said, it's huge just to say, you know, I'm thinking of a change. So to whoever who posted that question, God love you. I think you're on the right path already just by saying I want to do this. Like Diana said, the intention. So you start. I would only add that you start by doing this, by doing something like this, joining Conquer, because you are then in a position to ask thousands of other women. You can give, you know, a little bit more of your background and say, you know, how might you do this? And then everyone will love on you. Dozens and dozens of comments will come in to your Facebook post, or there's an amazing
Or suggestions.
yeah, yes.
Lots
Um,
of, I'm ready quick.
There's a search bar. It's called Searchy within the membership portal that is so specific. I love how cute it is. You can type in just certain words and it'll pick up all the videos, all the blogs, all of everything that Leslie has ever developed on whatever it is that you're asking about. So in this case, you'll find all kinds of resources on certain ways to talk to someone that manipulates you, or different scripts for, you know, different communication tactics. It's beautiful. So you'll find all kinds of just absolutely valuable resources in the Conquer world.
Yeah. So let me answer that on a specific level, though. I mean, we do have all the resources for that. To learn healthy responses, you need to script those responses. First, you want to start with, how do I want to show up, right? Who do I want to be in those moments? What does it sound like, look like? What would God want? And then you want to practice that. Often, sometimes we suggest you script your healthy responses so that your neural networks get in there, because otherwise you're just going to do the same thing over and over again. If you don't do something different and your brain doesn't rewire in a different path, you'll be doing the same things over and over. And so then the strength, I believe, for confrontation, boy, we all have to face our fear, don't we? And we have to step into fear to get to the other side. And so I do think stepping into it, practicing it, facing, you know, whatever the outcome might be. Sometimes we get strong, but the outcome still isn't what we want.
Yeah.
But I think with anxiety, you know, you say strong enough to weather necessary confrontation. Yeah. I think being solid in who you want, who you want to be, regardless of the other person's response, right? And then the fear piece, we know the more that you do something, the more the anxiety response habituates, which means it diminishes. So
That's beautiful. That's perfect.
mm-hmm.
Easier said than done, I know, but those are the actual steps. That's how you start doing it.
Speaking up is it's definitely hard.
Next question. I think we have time for a few more. Yep. So where is insecure attachment in this change process? I fear changing some things and I want to reflect on this. Insecure attachments.
I really don't know how to speak to that in this context. I'm not sure what to say to that, to be honest, Jen. Insecure attachment is something that's often formed in childhood when your caregiver doesn't present with consistency and safety. And I think sometimes we transfer those issues onto our adult relationships. And so I would say understanding and knowing that you have an insecure attachment style or an anxious attachment style and how that affects you would be helpful in your growth and understanding moving forward. Because when you start to see yourself doing that, you know, you can call it out. And one of the greatest steps to change is self-observation.
Yes.
Right. And so if you can notice, oh my goodness, I'm having an insecure reaction to this interaction right now, you're stepping outside of it, you're observing it and reflecting on it, then you can create change rather than just stepping into it. And oh my gosh, you're not even knowing what's happening because you're already in the behavior. So I think that's all that comes up for me with that. I just want to encourage you. Insecure attachment, to my knowledge, doesn't have a whole lot to do with changing things. But maybe what you're saying is you're afraid of abandonment. Sometimes when we change, and we don't have secure attachment, we're afraid of what we might lose in the process. And that abandonment sometimes feels like a little child who doesn't have their parent. And so we can learn to grow strong and to provide that secure attachment with really, I think, Jen, honestly, the roots with the Heavenly Father, who's our ever-loving, perfect parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the best relationship we'll ever have. Sometimes we just don't know that. The older I get, the more, I tell you, and I'm sure Leslie speaks, but the older I get, the more I realize he is like the perfect relationship. And all other relationships will fail us.
That's well, exactly. I was just trying to pull up one of the scriptures that I had from this morning about this. Hold on. So Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So when we attach to that, knowing that he is good, he is pleasing, and he is perfect, you can't ask for a better attachment than that.
You know, yeah, I mean, I know that how to live that out is a whole nother, living that out is a whole nother thing in practice, because I think sometimes we're just so limited physically. We want the physical representation of that. But I think there is a deeper longing that gets met within, and it's our soul and our spirit that has the deeper, but we need to step into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple more. So how do I join this without my husband being upset or telling me I can't spend the money? Do I ask him if I can spend the money and join? How do I keep this private moving forward? He can see all my text messages and is tech savvy. He worked in Intel. I don't want to sneak around, but I don't want to give him ammo to manipulate me. He gaslights and manipulates a lot. I want to get healthy and strong mentally, spiritually, and physically. I want to be a healthy parent for my son and for me.
Where are we at? Okay.
Yeah.
You want my honest? You first, and then me.
You were gonna say. Oh, I think we're gonna say the same thing, but no, we do want you to be safe. Okay, please, we do want you to be safe, and I appreciate your heart that you don't want to be sneaky, because there's probably been sneaky things done behind our back, and we don't want to perpetuate anything that has been done to you doing the same thing. So no, we don't want you to sneak around.
My question is, why do you have to ask?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to jump into.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
But this sounds very controlling, and it's like, when do you get to say, I need this for me? This is for my connection, deeper connection to God, a deeper connection to other sisters in Christ.
I mean, there are two adults in this relationship. Mm-hmm. It is a partnership. It is not a dictatorship, or I don't know what other words we could add to that. But I mean, and why would you have to sneak around for meeting your needs? You know what I mean? So I think maybe I just want to encourage you that there's some growth work to do here for both of you. Mm-hmm. And I often think that when we change how we expect others to treat us, they can fall in line. If you have a need, I want to encourage you to step forward and boldly say, I have a need for joining a group for strength and support. It's so that, exactly as you said, to be healthy, a healthy parent, and for me. And here's an acronym we use. It's called JADE. And I'm going to ask for what I need.
Yeah, type it into the chat if you know what JADE is.
Because I know they do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll see what they say. Yeah. But so that's the thing. Yeah, you've been in a position where you've been having to ask way too long. And we want you to know that that's not appropriate for you as an adult in a partnership, in a loving partnership. That,
Mm-hmm. So we hope and pray that you can be here with us.
Yes.
At whatever is appropriate for you and safe for you to do so in terms of communicating this to him. Maybe not asking, but just communicating as an equal partner that this is what I'm doing. then I hope that you can join this community, because to me, this is exactly the type of information that would be beneficial to grow you as an individual in that type of dynamic.
Right.
So, okay, what is Janice saying? Oh, Janice is asking, if we are already members of Conquer, can we come Friday? Isn't that when Lisa Turkhurst is coming to speak? Oh, was that this Friday? I can't remember.
No, I don't think so.
Sorry, Janice, I don't know. I don't know what that, you probably know more than I do. Oh, Kim, look at ding, ding, ding. We don't give door prizes here on this live, but we do in others. So Jade is justify, argue, defend, or explain. It's explain. E is the explain. Because sometimes we get manipulated into, they'll kind of trick us or gaslight us into then, justifying our actions. We get into arguments, we get defensive, we then explain and explain and explain and over explain to the end of time.
Well, here, we're going to practice this, all right? Aaron's going to be the guy and I'm going to be you. Hey, sweetie, I found this great group. I want to join. It's going to be really helpful for me in growth. I just want you to know that I'm going to be using the money for that.
Whoa! What money?
Well, it's $37 a month. It's a educational and support group for me as a woman.
Well, what would you need that for? That's $37. We need that around here.
Well, you know what? It's just something that I really want to do. And I hope that you'll understand, regardless, I'm doing it anyways. That's just how I would say it.
Yeah. But did you hear what Diana did? She was still courteous. It was brief. She directly answered the question, and she didn't fall into the trap of gushing and explaining. And I know we have to sometimes to feel safe, but it really just sets us up for them to go into and attack us on a different level. So that's a conversation for a whole other day.
And ask some questions. What is your need to know? I would imagine that you would trust that I can make good decisions about what's best for my growth. I mean, I'm just so used to this. I'm on my own growth path, and my husband and I both. He never questions anything, and I spend a lot of money on my own growth, to be honest. He's never said a word to me about it because he knows.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
So I know we're just past the top of the hour. You and I have another meeting we're supposed to be at right now, but maybe just one more question and we can wrap up.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Struggling what to do here. Have been separated for 1.5 years. I am now wondering if it's really that bad. Should I open back up to reconciling? I have not had feelings of love and being loved and supported. He is trying to work on himself, but I feel like I've given up. How do I figure this out?
I'm now wondering. Wait, okay. Struggling what to do here. That's the one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, this is not, we don't have specifics here, so we can't answer this specifically. That's something that you might want to do some coaching around. But I think the first step to figuring it out is to start to develop some strength and clarity. And that's what we do. We come alongside you, whether you want to join Conquer, you want to do some individual work. We run groups throughout the year, but right now I think Conquer is a good way to start. Because you can't make decisions when you're confused or when you're anxious. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things about being in a destructive relationship is you gaslight yourself. And I think gaslighting yourself sounds like it's not that bad, is it? You step in and out of this cognitive dissonance, right? And, you might have some good moments. So I think one of the things I would encourage you to do with that is to journal the cycles if you're still in relationship and contact with him. I think you're saying something really important here, that I have not had feelings of love and being loved and supported. And I would want to know a little bit more about that. While he's trying to work on himself, what is the work that you need to do? I think it's really good information that you're saying, I don't have these feelings anymore. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've given up. What did it take to get you to that point? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, when you say, I'm now wondering if it's really that bad, I would use that coupled with the sort of lack of feelings that you're having, the romantic feelings that you're having, and see how they play in together. I think that would be really good ways to get more and more curious, dig deeper into that for sure. So I know we have to run, unfortunately. I know we have some more questions here that we didn't get to, but the coaches are on here. We take a look, and we are also involved in the Conquer journey for those 6 weeks. We invite you, all of you that are listening here today, for the women that, you've really heard something here today that resonates with you. We encourage you to go and get more information at leslievernick.com/conquer sign up. You can get some more information there. There's a lovely video by Leslie that will explain this in a way that we just can't, so that you can feel like it's the right fit for you. And thank you to all of those participants here today that have already joined Conquer and have been a part of the membership for quite some time, because it's the best club you never wanted to be a part of. Put it that way.
That's a good way of putting it. We look forward to seeing those of you that are new members. We'll see you on the Conquer Steps. We'll see you on Facebook Live. And for those of you that are not able to join or don't feel it's appropriate for you, we look forward to seeing you anytime, anywhere.
Yes. And we've got another live tonight at 7:30 Eastern. And the topic tonight is, how do you get through the things getting worse before they get better part of healing? So stay tuned for that tonight. Same channel, same Batman channel, or whatever they used to say. But thank you all for spending some time with us, with Coach Diana and I today, as we share our hearts about our passion for changing ourselves and stepping into this Conquer journey. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't worth it. We fully are passionate about this, and we invite you to join in our passion in supporting not only yourself, but the opportunity to support and love on others as well.
And we want to thank Amanda for supporting us behind the scenes.
Yes, thank you, Amanda.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.